Good morning, good day. On this day, February 12th, 2021, back to your friend in a Surah Singh from Bharat, India. I just started few minutes back, but that was interrupted and cut off. So I had to do it again this time, this day, and title being Civil Field Engineering, Designs, Construction, Methods, Contracts, whatever it is, FIDIC, Communication, Coordination, Quantity, Quality, and Quality of Concrete. Every day I deliver some personal talks regarding profession, regarding life. I'm not someone to tell you do this or do that, but I have some suggestions always, and I like to share my opinion, my mental build up with you people. And this is not only for certain area of this country or some other country, it's addressed to humanity. We are all products of God, we know. And whatever we don't do anything ourselves. It's power of God that plans for everyone. You do this or you do that. You can say it's a project of God, and it is process of construction of this universe or development of this universe that we are a part of. No one can do anything if God doesn't plan. That is the spiritual world. I'm not going to that world, but it is a fact that we are no one to decide anything, to do anything, because nothing belongs to us. We are not, we are not here to decide something. Decision is always made in advance. That's plan of Almighty. We are only able to use that power, that resources which God creates, and that is where we later on enter into a world of pride, the fake world of pride that this is mine, I have done it, it is my contribution. But of course, it is a relative contribution, I can say, because God desired this and it has been fulfilled according to God desired. That is another point. But is that right? When I come to this earth, I know, my parents know that my ward has come. Other than that, neither I know nor my parents know what for I am here. After all, God delivers us, each of us, to this world. For what? To do something or just to enjoy life. Some says that no, you have to enjoy life. This is life, purpose of life. And some say no, you have to do something, and that's plan of life. It's the target of life, aim of life. But nobody is very much clear, because when you grow up, when you become independent, when you start leading your life, you forget God. In fact, means going to certain worship buildings to worship doesn't mean that you believe in God. God belief comes from your internal person you have, and that internal person has to decide. Means that person is actually miniature of God. So I can understand that God works through everybody. So I am a project of God, I can say. Yes, everybody is project of God. God built me, God built you, God everyone in a part of turnkey project, you can say. So it's not contracting, I'm not saying that, but project is turnkey. Some people say whatever key has been wound up in your life, you have to live that. Whatever time of this key in God has done, until key works, you have to live. When this key stops, you have to leave this world, means you have to leave this body. That key, which is control of everybody, but that key is in whose hand? That key is not in my hand, not in your hand. That key is in hand of some other one. So I am a project, you are a project, but what is my date of start and date of completion? I know date of start because my parent told me this day you are started. But which day I have to complete that data is not known, and that is what only secrecy lies in this project. When we do some project on earth, we have dates with us, written dates, signed dates. This is date of commencement and this is date of completion. We call that contract completion date. Formal contract completion date we call it. Because we know both. So we are here in decision mode when we say this is construction completion date or project completion date. But about us we do not know anything. And that's only difference between God given project. God knows that. Because I am a project, project doesn't know state, contract knows that. That's the difference. When I am project, I don't know my date because I am dead. I am material, I am paper. I am not living being. But God is engineer there. God is employer there. Right? God is employer. God is employer. I am project and I am working for this earth. So you can say God promotes earth. Not only earth, but also God promotes whole universe. This point we have to understand. Somebody was arguing on Facebook about civil engineering. Yesterday only I read civil engineering is this and that. It's very hardworking. It's not means they had their own opinion, but I just added to that in response that don't think this way. Think another way. That civil engineering is real engineering. It doesn't mean I condemn other engineering. Real engineering means it starts original work based on God given resources. It starts original work. When it starts, something starts. Means you have to move further from scratch. We call it scratch because there exists nothing and we move from there. It may be only ground, it may be grass, it may be wood, it may be forest, it may be desert, or it may be developed city. Means somewhere you have to start. Even if in developed city you have to start to construct some building, some resorts, some infrastructure. That point I am contemplating here. That point is very much of concern. I am not saying that it is everything, but it is like that you wear clothes. If you don't wear clothes, what shall happen? You shall be exposed. You shall be exposed to all weather conditions, and you have to tolerate all those ups and downs in temperature, fluctuations of temperature, heat waves, winds, rain, everything. But when you got protection directly on your body by covering, and then further in some structure under some roof and walls, casing, you get covered up, you got protected. I think we have to understand this way that civil engineering is more than defined engineering, because civil engineering is very raw engineering, very raw. This engineering, to be very frank, a person who works in civil engineering only knows what types of difficulties one faces. It is difficulty means hard life. I'm not talking of sitting in offices and do design, that's also a part of engineering, but I'm talking of field work, practical work, construction work, where there is no support, there is no other issue except to work in all weather conditions, along with those skilled workers and semi-skilled workers and unskilled workers who are born to stay and work in such pleasant and unpleasant environment and weather, and there is no alternative for that. Wherever you go in world, developed world, underdeveloped world, wherever you go, you find that there is no other alternative. So In fact, you see, if you want to work for God, God also did civil engineering, though we could not understand that. This whole world, whole universe, is in fact a product of advanced civil engineering, very, very advanced civil engineering. We can believe in whatever name, that's different, nothing to do with that. But I will say that power which sits, which controls everybody, everyone on earth, is only that power to whom I am referring. And that power, when did it produce this universe? We don't know, but it produced. And since then, since its production, this universe has been working without fail. It has been working without any consumption of fuel, and it has been working in such a systematic way that we even today cannot imagine. Even we use computers, we cannot make that system that God already made for humanity. For humanity here on earth, and maybe what type of people on other planets and other solar systems in whole universe. I cannot say, because I do not know. I cannot know. I am only a human being. I have certain limitations, and you too have same. We are having very small mind, little mind, and that's not well powerful just to locate those times when whole universe was constructed. And before construction there must have been some design process, and before that design process there must have been some, you can say, theories, mechanism based on which this universe was constructed. It was all engineering work, and majority of that can say civil engineering. So of course I can say civil engineering is very hard working field, very, very intelligent based field, sacrificial requiring field. If you cannot sacrifice from comforts, I mean to say, I'm not saying sacrifice from comforts which you expect, air conditioned room, pleasant life, social life, beautiful family. You cannot have that in general if you work in civil construction field. Those types of facilities you can't have, comforts can't have. Yes, you have to work according to requirement of job, not according to your lifestyle, your working hours. There's no working hours in engineering because it is continuous engineering. It does not accept your style, it has its own style. Materials are used in engineering, all materials. People call them raw materials or natural materials. These are used, composite materials are used, and every type of availability, whatever we have, from soil, from water, from air, and to all dead products or non-living products that we extract from earth are used in construction. So we can relate ourselves to nature directly. Civil engineering is a profession which relates to nature. One cannot deny this fact. If one denies this fact, one denies soul and one denies existence of God. We have to be very much concerned about this. When I get every help from nature, if I work in construction field or engineering field, I don't think nature doesn't give us something, anything. I get everything from nature, universe. So I have to relate to it absolutely and keep artificiality off. Artificiality means a kind of feeling that I am having comforts while comforts are drawn from nature. It's same thing if you sit in AC room every day, all time, and you do not know what is nature. You come out of your office, take your car and go out, and then enter your home or somewhere else, again in AC. So you come out of AC, go to AC car, and go to your home. You do not you do not feel what is value of nature. You do not feel what is value of sun rays. You do not know what is air. Of course you see them, but you do not feel them. And by chance sometime you have to stand in sun. Even it is 20 degrees Celsius, you will feel, oh, it's very hot. In AC you sit at 20 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius. You don't feel anything, so I am comfortable. But same temperatures outside in sun, you will feel uneasy. That's where weakness of human being is witnessed. My explanation is not to tell you that you do not know that. You know that, I understand, but I'm just trying to point it out, bullet it in, so that refreshing activity is done. Engineering is part of life. This engineering, which I am talking of, real engineering or civil engineering, which gives us some coverage from adverse weather conditions and to sleep well, not to be in turmoil all time, to be in peace and to wait for next day and then another day and life moves on like that. But do we think sometime in life what I am project for? I was projected by that power. When I was born, at time of my birth, I was projected. But for what? Where is my project? I would say, I am my project. Yes, you are your project, but which project you are looking at, that is another criteria. I am a project. You can say, I am an intelligent project which can think of. So God has put up mind, installed mind in this project, which is myself and everyone else. Where is that mind? It is in me, and only for projection of that mind I was built. I was produced. Because if I don't have mind, if I am mindless, I think there shall be no meaning of this body. It shall be even much lesser than what animals do have. This body shall be meaningless. It shall be like stones, rocks only. Because material lies wherever it lies until some agency comes and disturbs it. Dust and aggregate lie wherever they are. If powerful thunderstorm appears, these may move somewhere here and there. If flood appears, if tsunami appears, this material may move due to force of those agencies, impact on that. But otherwise, these lie wherever they are for centuries. No one can move them. This means, if I don't have mind, I am stone, I am dead body or equivalent dead body, because I cannot think anything, just I am living for sake of living. That's only answer. Do not take that I am talking philosophy. No, I am not talking philosophy. I am talking a reality of life. Reality of life lies in construction of human. Human was constructed, human is constructed every day, every time, and births happen every moment all over the world. So it's a part of construction. So I say construction is not only what we think of our structures. Everybody is constructed, everything is constructed. Think of that moment. Think of that moment when God might have executed, might have produced, might have manufactured all universes. How many universes? I don't know. But all universes. Billions of projects God did in form of humanity, and trillions of projects might be in form of other creatures. And material used in this, material which is very important in engineering world, of course it's important everywhere, but in engineering material is very important. Not only material, but to know about material. what properties does this material have. Each material is different. Each material has varying properties. We have to understand those properties, and after understanding only, we can decide what use we can have from that. But don't forget, if we use materials in engineering, construction, God also considers every human its material. I am material, you are material. For God, we are material. Of course, material with certain power of mind. God has programmed every material. I am an aggregate part, you may say. I am also an aggregate part. I am like sand dust particle. I am like rock particle. I am like water particle or whatever particle, just like we consider materials. So, in that case, I am a material. I am a piece of material particle, and everybody is a piece of material particle. This is what God put in characteristics in everybody. So we should sit in place of God at that moment and then think, what for I am. If I sit in place of God and think that I made myself a material, so what is property of this material? What it should be? That's what is my project to understand. I want to understand my project. So that way only I can understand. And if I say I got some profession, I am working in some profession, this doesn't mean that I will be forced there. If I didn't know in childhood which profession I have to follow and I follow that profession by whatever way, or that life whatever I lead, this means that that's my destiny. That's my destiny. I cannot come out of that. Nobody shall allow me to come out of that, and it is also true that I work there. So what I am saying is, if I consider myself a project devised by God, so I should feel lucky. I should feel fortunate that I have been apportioned that power given by God, my opportunity to work for that power, to work for that power's product, which is this earth here, yes, on, and which is a part of universe, integrated parts of system of universe. In that case, I should say, oh, I have to serve God. And service of God is best worship. Every day I work, I have to consider that I am working for that power, because whatever material I am using, whatever human resources I use, whatever all other resources I use, all come from that power. It is direct or indirect, but it comes from that. Whatever equipment, machine I use or you use, we use in construction, in contracts, and whatever we do, that comes from where? It directly comes from natural product. Every machine is made of materials, engines, and all parts which all come from nature. Only that these are first processed and devised to these parts, and assembly is called machine. And where every machine like me and like you is available, which is directly given in operating form from God, we never need any spare part. Of course, we never need any oil to operate body, but fuel. And that fuel which we say it is oil, or that food we take, it also comes through God's earth surface. That food or vegetable or whatever we consume, it is also a direct product blessing given to us by God. Nobody has any power till now who can say I can produce a food grain particle without contribution by soil, water, air, sun rays, process of irrigation technology. There can be no one in this world who can say I can make soil, or I can make water particle, or I can make air particle. So that situation we have not reached. We have no innovative technology. that can say, okay, without using these resources, we can create further resources. There's nothing as such. So what I mean to say, this relative world which we are living in, it's a different world if you think of. And if you don't think of, nobody can help it. If you think of, you will get a lot in that. So my this small imaginative talk, or can say hypothetical talk, or you may say that a talk which is in different analytical way, not creative way but imaginary, but it gives a message that first you analyze yourself in relation to that power, you will understand what you are. Everybody is behind money, wealth. That's okay, you be behind money. But what shall you do with that money? That's another point. Money is fixed. Value may change. Material is fixed. Rate may change. Quantity of water is fixed. Quantity of air is fixed. Quantity of hidden material in earth is fixed. Size of earth is fixed. Size of solar system is fixed. And all speeds of rotation are fixed. Relative position in astronomy is fixed. Just think of that. Do they change very often? No, they do not change. If they change in certain relative system, which we understood, our scientists understood for centuries. They could only understand by observation of working of these bodies, these agencies, solar system. I can call it agency or system. We observe every day. This is sunset we call, and then is sunrise, and we say so many hours and so many weeks and so many like that. We only observe. God has given us power to observe only, nothing else. God has given mind which can observe how God's universe works or working. Only that power God has given us, that you go there, that's my site earth. There are so many machines on earth. You can use them, and you are also one of machines, because this machine is on head, which is called mind. That is my machine, and that machine has got many structural supports from mind to mouth, eyes, nose, neck, then chest downwards up to feet, toe. And this is all working, functional. You have to do nothing in that till time you stay on earth. This shall be functional, and when I withdraw you from there, these functional parts of body and body would cease, and there is then no meaning for that body. It will decompose. Decompose because it is organic body, it's not mineral. And these keep on decomposing for purpose of complete change of form. Change of form, which is a very important term in engineering and sciences. Everything keeps on changing according to modern physics, according to nuclear physics. Every radioactive material changes, keeps on changing. All materials that we use in world keep on changing to one form, then to another form, and another form, and ultimately lead to radioactive lead. Engineering is a science, or it is a religion, or it is a philosophy, or it's an art, or it's technology. It's up to you to decide. It doesn't make any difference. Terminology is different. Engineering is engineering, and I should say engineering is blessing given to humanity by God. Everything is done by thoughtful process. And those things which are not done by thoughtful process are called emotional products. You have to decide, you want to live in emotional world or you want to live in logical world, rational world. Rational, logical means analytical based, something you do based on understanding of that, based on complete solution, or you find solution by your process of thoughts. If I work in engineering, it's not simply that I have every solution. If every solution is available, in that case there is no meaning of engineering. Engineering got no place where there is already solution. Engineering means you must face problem, you must have problem, and to remove that problem to useful product solution, you have to find. That solution is called a product of engineering, and to find that solution we have to conduct analysis. Analysis is root of engineering, because already there is a solution, God has fixed that solution. But when you are in problem, you do not know solution, you have to analyze. Your job is only to analyze. And when God knows that you are analyzing, you are working on that, certainly that solution comes to you and you start thinking that you got it. Though you did nothing in that, you just tried, and God cannot wait if you try, because it is God's product, you are God's project. When God has to move project, it has to give you product, it has to give you resources, it has to give you solution, and I get that solution. So I relate engineering to God's will, because on its own there is no engineering in this world. On its own there is no engineering in this world. We have to use only available resources to be united, to be pooled, to be used as integrated part of every item. Whole item is produced by engineering, whole item. And whole item is available in nature to be used. Example, rock. No human being can build a rock. Rock is a natural product. Rock gives aggregates we call stone chips, and also dust particles. And we have water that is natural. We have air that is natural. We have fire that is natural. We have heat that is natural. We have cold that is natural. And we have human resources which are also natural. Lot of process is done to use some material. We have rock, we cannot use it directly. We have to break it, we have to crush it, and then we have to see sizes. Only then this can be used as ingredients of concrete material. Similarly, steel, we say we are using steel bars, we are using structural steel elements, members. We say we are using because we buy from market and use them. More than that we do not know in civil engineering, but we should know how this steel got in, how has it been processed, because there is no natural steel available in this form, it is available in ore form. Ferrite, that ore is available in nature, and from that extraction gives us this steel reverse. Like we get rock material, rock particles, dust particles, sand particles. So nature has given us some material directly to be used, some material indirectly to be used. Cementing material we used is indirect because we use raw materials like silica, which is a kind of sand, like lime, which is also a kind of rock particle. These are combined in certain proportion and of course supported by many other chemicals, and we can say that we have this cement product which is used for construction. Cement product, and we say cement is nothing but which material allows to join other materials to become useful materials. Cementing materials means joining two different materials. Joining two materials, so in few materials like rock particles, dust particles, sand particles, and water acts there as agent, which results in chemical reaction, and reaction results into gel, and that gel solidifies these all different composites particles, and then we get mortar, or we get concrete. So there is a long process. We cannot say that we can directly use these products. This means engineering constitutes production of these materials which are combined together to make concrete or to make some other useful product. Even plastic which we use, though it's non-friendly to environment is plastics, but it's also available not directly but by very very long process. Though it's not in human interest, but human has used it. Byproduct of hydrocarbon material we are using this polymer material which destroys our environment. And same way we used in past wooden material. We have used trunks of trees, all kinds of trees, whether endogenous or exogenous, and we spoiled all our forests. So we are such cruel people, which are such cruel projects given by God, that we also destroy God's product. Civil engineering is different. It's completely different because it is construction engineering. It's an engineering which forces to construct. And when we say construct, means combination of various inputs available in earth, in lithosphere, input available in solar system, input available in humanity, input available in resources of machines and all. And of course, this way or that way we use fuels or fossil fuel material also for this purpose. So construction is not a word actually, it's not a term. We may say that it is some unknown kind of term. Construct. It is a struct. Construction involves structure, and you can say concentration of that is construction. Construction. So structure itself is hidden in this term because construction leads us to structure, and that structure leads us to finished body of building or some other built up infrastructural material. Infrastructure use product. It can be anything. It can be whatever. Ultimate point is we have to understand, after all, why we make houses, why we make buildings, why do we make bridges. We say all these are required for our daily use, for our development. This means we produce all such structures for development. That this means engineering is development. Yes, engineering means development. Engineering means human development, and human development means every part of earth development. Earth didn't start yesterday. It started since unknown times. We do not know which calendar date it is, but it's there. We could not develop it fully even in such a long period. This means development speed is very slow. No problem. Why we should be in hurry? After all, We are passenger on earth. We are not permanent resident here. We have to live one day. And that day is bad for everybody because nobody wants to live. Everybody is happy to join this train of earth journey. This train, nobody wants to live. I don't know why. Because when we come to this train, maybe we weep there. Why am I going there? Suppose I am in skies, heaven and sent to earth. At that time, maybe I weep there. Why are you sending me there, this and that? But when I join this earth, I forget all journey past and I say, no, this is my home. And I forget that home. And when we stay here, we think this is my belonging, this is my origin. But I don't know which day I have to leave that. I know I have to leave, but I keep on forgetting all the time. Oh no, 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 you are my father, mother, you are my brother, you are my sister, you are my. I don't want to leave you. I forget my that father who sent me here, that grandfather. I forget that father and I merge myself into this temporary family parent members and think that that's my all. Well, it is. I should not deviate from subject. My subject is not this institution of family or institution of this universe, but my subject is engineering, construction, and projects. I am an engineer by qualification, not by origin. Just because I qualified something, I adopted myself. I should go to a profession unknown to me, and that's engineering. At that time, it's my, you can say, lifetime life like that. So I've not achieved anything yet. You achieve or don't achieve doesn't make a difference because you have to go one day back home. So achievement or no achievement, if you have achievement, people shall remember you. But what you have achieved, that's more important. Because a soul is a software. Whatever information soul has got in, that soul flight shall go with that information. That's one point of understanding here. Maybe I've taken your time, so much time, you may be feeling very bored. Why is this guy only talks and talks, he doesn't understand anything else. He's fond of talking, so I'm not going to talk irrelevantly. I'm just talking for sake of understanding something. And I should say that it's life like that. No one can help it. For not wasting time, sometime we have to think differently. Routine and what is other point. And we have to enjoy what we have. Not to destroy life. So what I say here, life is to enjoy. But what sort of enjoying life you have? You want to enjoy life physically with having intact, enjoy life with mind intimacy, enjoying way I'm just referring to. I'm not saying go dance and enjoy, no, that's enjoying. Joy, I'm truly having joy, I'm dancing, I'm singing, I'm listening to music, I'm going to see. It depends on what level of enjoyment you have. has different approach. Some people believe in superficial world, some people believe in depth of mind. If you measure everything to on that, because money is something, but it doesn't help you to achieve what I'm talking about. 98% people will support money, would say, no, I'm interested only in money. Tell me something, tell me I can get money, what way I can, which work I should do that gives me money. Nobody is interested in destiny. It was a time long back people used to believe in destiny, in aim, in life, in permanent object, what you want to get. And those times have gone. Those times have gone. These would come again, but not immediately, because whole world has become economy oriented, and economy is measured in terms of material. When we call economy, means in fact nations' names are also referred as economy. And if you are economically sound, you are considered rich. If you are not economical sound, you are not considered rich. And life has been turned into economy rather than into humanity, into power of mind, into power of God. We are using only God's product. We forget God too. Fact remains. We have channelized God only into religious institutions, not direct institutions. God resides in everyone. That is belief, but that's fact also. Because I don't have any control on my body, neither you too. But still we don't understand this process. If I am speaking, it's not myself that I am speaking. I am only being used as a medium to speak to you or to talk to you, but somebody else is talking through this medium, and that is myself, which is a product or a project. And this project continues until I live, and when I go, this project is, you can say, delivered. Finally, it is over. We talk of contracts. I talk of contracts, I talk of quality, I talk of quantity, I talk of methodologies. Yes, it is part of my profession. Nothing very new. In every profession, there is something like that. When you go to lawyer, you will find that that lawyer has also many technologies, many techniques how to handle law, how to proceed in court, how to make petitions. Same way when you go to doctor, that doctor would also say have methodology of surgical operations, and there's method how to prescribe medicines, and same way all professions to have. And if you are in a kitchen, the kitchen is not considered that high level of profession, but it's very high profession, because it's not valued in terms of money, it's valued in terms of food, in terms of delicious nature of food, you can say very healthy food, you can say, we talk of. But we forget that whole process of cooking is also a part of engineering. Without process, no engineering works. Without technology, no engineering works. Without use of mind, no engineering works. It depends upon what level of mind you have to use and what level of physical activity you have to include in that. So even in kitchen, there's so much of engineering activity that we don't notice, and examples are very few. When you say you're boiling milk, just take an example. You're boiling milk on gas or electrical chula or wherever. It will take just 10 minutes or 15 minutes for you boiling that milk. But what happens within that period? Did you ever notice? Being an engineer or being an intelligent person, one should analyze that also. When I put milk on heat and it starts working, there's a pot and there's liquid milk, heat starts working, heat starts allowing thermal energy to that pot, and thermal energy starts its work on that body of pot utensil, and that heat transfer through that body goes to liquid milk. Now we say, okay, I boiled it in 10 minutes, let's say 10 minutes. But do you know why you did not think what happened within that 10 minutes? Nobody thinks because, okay, I'm boiling milk, it's kitchen, and in the kitchen nobody thinks technically. But there is technology. A process of thermal energy works there. When you start heating, heat transfers to milk through steel body. Steel body is heated up. This means there is some electronic flow in that steel surface. And electronic flow is heated up, and this heat moves to liquid fluid of milk, and that starts heating up too. But there is a depth of that milk liquid, and there is a depth of that utensil too. This energy transfers through steel base and steel walls and then goes to milk. And if you just leave it as it is for boiling and do not stir during its boiling process, did you ever notice what happens? That people say, oh, this milk has burnt. This has different taste. Because nobody used any tool to revolve in that, to ripple in that liquid of milk. You understand what I'm saying? What happens, technically speaking, there's a volume of milk in that, small volume of milk, that has certain dimension, a certain diameter, and certain depth. Its quantity may be 1 liter, maybe 2 liter, maybe 3 liter, whatsoever. You're heating up that. Bottom portion of, there is a temperature build-up in bottom portion. Also that heat moves up, it takes some time and moves up to top of that utensil, top of walls, through body of walls, and then this energy is transferred to top surface of milk, which already has surface tension. So temperature at bottom and temperature at top, if you do not stir, are different. Common sense says temperature at bottom is higher than temperature at top of liquid, which means there is a difference of temperature. Temperature difference leads to thermal gradient. Thermal gradient means is created. You understand what I'm saying? There's a difference of thermal energy at two, which is dangerous for milk, because bottom of milk, bottom quantity, bottom portion of milk is heated up and top portion is not heated up. So there's a chances that you will not have same taste of stirring circularly of that milk body. Means whatever hot milk you have at bottom, you push it to top, and top one goes to bottom so that it's heated properly. So you try to keep this small milk body on heated heat chula, or you heat so that you try to bring it to a uniform temperature, nearly uniform temperature, not exactly, and that uniformity of temperature does not allow milk to burn, and temperature of whole milk is approximately uniform, and also it doesn't harm walls of pots because you maintain temperature. So what does it mean? You can say is thermal energy gradient is reduced to possible, and this is called cooking, but nobody thinks this way. People say we are cooking, but cooking they are doing, material cooking they are doing, they don't understand philosophy of technology, they don't understand what technology works. And it's not only for milk, I'm just giving an example, it's for all cooking that way. So we have to be little, innovative in this. Means I'm not saying what I said is exactly right. It can be right and it cannot be right. You think on. Always I say thinking is basics of engineering. Thinking is fundamental of engineering. If I think, it doesn't mean that I'm thinking, mind is thinking. I am using mind. Of course, I'm using my soul because my soul generally lies at ultimate time in mind. It is it's stored in mind, and mind is very powerful in human being. Mind is you. Mind, mind is everyone. Those who start using mind and those who do nothing without using mind, those persons are clever, intelligent, advancing. And those who leave it or don't take a strain, don't stress your mind, those people cannot do anything in life. Anything in life they cannot do except living like buffaloes, living like donkeys. Those who use mind, they can use mind again and again. If you use mind, if you have habit to use mind again and again. Because mind is engineering. It is used everywhere in life in engineering terms. It doesn't mean formal engineering I'm talking life engineering, not civil engineering, life engineering. Life is engineered by yourself. God wishes that you engineer yourself using my powers. And if you can do that, you shall know what you are doing, what it is, how it is. You shall know every logic behind that. And as much as you do it, as many times you do it, you will get more and more analytical power. And that analytical power shall keep your mind very, very sound all the time. That's what is very important part of life. So I can say God has done justice with me when God allowed me power of mind. Okay, you can get money, you can get wealth, free. There's no meter attached to this. Can't be measured in terms of money. even then, we do not realize this fact. I equate engineering to mind. Mind is engineering force and engineering force is mind. We used to study electromotive force when I was young in engineering, different subjects, this electromotive force. And I can say this is mind motive force. This is mind motive force. If you have mind which cannot sleep, you are lucky one because force is with you always. So that force that you have for mind is mind bodyguard. So every mind has bodyguards. Don't depend upon physical bodyguards, but mind bodyguards. Maybe sometime I slip, I speak something which I should not. Of life. It's not construction of structure only, construction of life. When I was too young, I did not know meaning of life. I could not even know what money means and how it comes and how it goes, who gives it and to whom. Because of child mind is like that. Every mind of child is like that. You don't understand economy, you don't understand anything, and you enjoy life, and you expect that your parent would help you, that would do it for you. So that time, that lifestyle, that life age is very, very innocent. But when you come up to know where is money, what's economy, what is life, what is society, what is social science, and what are systems, what is engineering, what is medical, what is health, then you start thinking. And actually, if you start thinking that way, you do not stick to only your job, that this is my job and I have to do this job and that's my destiny. Well, it should not be your destiny alone, exclusively. You should have inclusive destiny as well. Yes, you are employed by someone, that's true. Someone pays to you and you have to do that job. But your another job is by another employer which you have forgotten, whom you have forgotten. That employer who is responsible for all your acts, who has empowered you to work where you are working, and that is your original home. But when you are in flight, you don't care for that home. You think, I am flying now, and you forget ground. The landing always happens post flying or takeoff. That point must be understood very well. I don't know why I'm speaking all this and how I speak. I also don't know. To be very frank, I never plan to talk to you. What shall I talk? I never keep the points in my mind also. I don't know why I never ever plan anything while talking to you. And that's why I prefer to be on live, and this construction has to be done through contracts. Now he's talking of contracts. Now I was talking of documents. Though it's not exactly where I stopped, but let us think of again. It says now this is EPC I'm talking, which is engineering, procurement and construction. Very, very powerful document, very, very powerful mechanism for contracts, where even designs are taken care of by contractors. First of all, we have to give respect to terms: contract, contractor, design, engineer, construction. All these terms are having very powerful meanings, and we should not take into our consideration only bad, we should take good also into our consideration. When we talk of contract, it's very, very easy that we say, it's contract, do it. but we don't understand meaning of contract. Because we never refer ourselves to that direction. As I say analysis, right? I say conduct analysis. Analysis, somebody has one meaning and other man has another meaning. But analysis means you can understand whole atomic investigation. And when we conduct investigation, then this probe works and we get some clue how to find solution, how to solve it. This means problem is complexity and its answer is solution, which is replacement of problem. When you get solution, then problem is removed and you have movement further. You have another type of movement. Now contract, as I referred to, when we say contract, what does it mean? Don't think what is defined. This article contract says what? It clearly says tract. Contract means there's a track, and you have to concentrate on that. Other guy also has to concentrate on that. Or you can say both, or how many parties are there on that contract. That contract, when talked of analytically, artically, it says that on these tracks people are walking. On these tracks people are walking and they should walk on these tracks only. And when one walks on this track, other walks on that track. If they move on that railway track, there is no accident possibility. There is no accident possibility if they move on track. And if there is a derailment, of course that shall lead to accident. So it simply says the contract means minimum two and maximum no limit. Minimum two, and both, one has to walk on one track member, other has to walk on another track member. They have to move together constantly for long, and you say that you are walking successfully, you are moving successfully. Here I'll just give an example, but it's something very rare. So we are in contract on that track, both parties walking on that, because they agreed to walk on that, and they walk without any competition, but dedication, commitment. That's what is required. That is what is very, very useful here, I can say. There is nothing else that can replace it. That's also true. There is nothing else that can replace that cooperative movement on that track. That cooperative movement is very powerful tool, and that cooperation, whatever we achieve, and that process of cooperation we call contract. Contract. Even if it's not agreed, you are moving, you are cooperating. You may not be knowing that you are cooperating, it's kind of contract process, but that's a contract. And when it comes to formal agreement, it's called contract agreement. Formal agreement, whatever conditions it would have contained, it's called contract agreement. I think we have to analyze in a very different way. Law says contract agreement is valid only if there is consideration included on the terms. Yes, consideration. What is consideration? Consideration means there are two parties both. They have to consider for each other. If you work for me, I will give you this. And if I work for you, you will give me this. Right? That is consideration. Consideration means both parties decide only for that. I say, okay, I have this money, I'll give you this if you do this job for me. So you have defined, you have declared your you do this, I have this for you. And that party offers, okay, I'll do this service for you, you give me this. So give me this is consideration here. Both parties are on contract, and you can say, though they are legally contracting parties, in fact, both are contractors because one is agreeing for work contract and one is agreeing for money contract. One has to pay money and one has to give delivery of work. So that is contract. It's a kind of mutual service contract agreement. We have to not to run away to that relative talks. We have to understand original. This fact, when you came to this possibility, right? I left because I was sent here to the earth, to this earth. From there might have been some contract which I forgot. Might have been signed there, I forgot. Possibility is that. Or maybe I am reminded frequently by that power who is my engineer. And I, in a futile life, a futile pleasure of this life, I stopped thinking of that contract. And I think that whatever I enter into contract here on earth, that is an answer. We are little, we have to be a little different. I consider this the first document. Of course, it is first document because this is signed document, and signed document in one first place, and you are moving based on that document on that way. Contract agreement. So this EPC here says contract agreement is first document here. What I am talking of. Contract agreement, it says I am number one because on me you both have signed certain considerations and certain terms and conditions that you have to do this job, you have to perform this job, this contract, and in lieu of which I shall pay you this, and you have to deliver me all this for this cost, and I'll pay you that cost. So number one document is contract agreement. Find it is qualified one. You can fully free means there are certain date of start, there may be duration of this project, or there may be many intermediate conditions intermittently, which we have to take into consideration. But first we have to understand this sequence of documents validity. When I say contract data means what is contract data? What is contract data? In engineering, there are so many points which can be related to, which generally public do not understand. You can say, if I have a job, that party is giving me job must be made sure that I will do that, and that surety comes only through my binding, my risk. Okay, I give you a written statement that give me this job and I will do it for you. And if I don't do it for you, I fail, then you have every right to claim your losses on my behalf from me. That can be a point like that. And those all conditions, those all points are written in contract data. Date of start, duration of this contract, and what are the conditions, and what contract it is, scope of work, and who is liable for you, who would say, you can say all this. So conditions, you mean to say when say part A contract data, so much is written on that. If you don't complete this project in time, you have to pay penalty. Don't worry about anything, we will give you. And you are saying, don't worry about anything, I will work for you. So that is contract data, contract conditions, real contract conditions, and that you have, and money that is behind only for this sake. They say then there's another condition, and that goes to special provisions, and that's called particular conditions, part B. So first is contract agreement, and then which ones follow in law, and that is you can say this is particular condition, and that's another condition. That's particular condition based on your projects. So special provisions are already there. So these two documents are contract conditions, and special provisions means there may be some general conditions, and these general conditions you don't have of that, so you can transfer that to special provisions possibly. And general conditions are very general. We know general conditions means whatever happens on projects generally, these considers relevant thoughts. Then general conditions means which apply to change. These are changed to special or to particular conditions, and here either it remains void or they will fill something else. That's not it's not transmission. Now employers requirements. Up to this four we had said contract agreement, particular conditions, and general condition. What else? Employers require. What's your role for employer, and what employer has to do for you, and you have to do for it. That points are really. That point is very very interesting. In fact, if you understand that point, and if you don't understand that point, nobody can do anything. That's also true. So we have to be very careful while dealing with such, as it's like you can say. All right, so my point is very very clear to you. I think it should be clear to you what we are talking of, how we are talking of. And that talking is very important when we say that these are documents in precedence we have to take care of. It's a very important point. But this point doesn't end here. It keeps on continuously. It keeps on continuously, and it's very, very important to understand what is that. It's very, very understandable. It's very, very understandable, and we should understand that point clearly in terms of that. And I can say so. So my point is a little different here. If you understand this point, I think you can understand EPC very well. Employers' requirements means what specifications, what requirements, what scope uh, are defined in that requirements. It's kind of big explanation actually, but point lies in, because this is APC, major part of designs and specifications go to power of contractor. It's not like construction contract, but design and construction contract. That's why employers' requirements are brief but comprehensive. In a red book only for construction, then you have to define all designs and design documents. Here, requirements defined, and responsibility of contractors announced many times. So employer's requirement come below all other leading documents, as we emphasized on contract conditions, before that contract conditions, particular and general, and then employer's requirements. Schedules, actually, people may think that this only construction schedule or timeline schedule. No, that's one part. There are so many schedules on contracts, and those schedules can be either in financial form or non-financial form, or in data form. Those are, and those, therefore, there's no one, two, this can be whatever number. Schedules are drawn. Schedules means charts or tables. It can be, in terms of data, in terms of some other energy, in terms of daily use. So schedules are miscellaneous, and then down to tender, which is very original activity, beginning of some project in terms of contracting. Tender, which is very vast, very voluminous document, and tender we call bid document. And before that is organization of contracting, whatever they are, single contracting single person, or private limited or joint venture, whatsoever it is, and all and any other document forming part of contract. So what is then is a hierarchy in APC. Starts with contract agreement, moves on to particular condition part A, particular conditions part B, general conditions, employer's requirements, schedules, tender, joint venture, and whatever other documents forming part of contract. And there's a note here: if a party finds an ambiguity or discrepancy in these documents, that party shall promptly give a notice to other party describing ambiguity or discrepancy. After giving or receiving such notice, employer shall issue necessary clarification or instruction. It says that contract shall come into full force and effect. Title is Contract Agreement. Contract shall come into full force and effect on on date stated in contract agreement. Costs of stamp duties and other rights. I'll leave this behind because these are all employers' property. If contract comprises a joint venture, authorized representative of each member of joint venture shall sign contract agreement. Now, there's a subcontracting provision that neither party shall assign whole or any part of contract on any benefit or interest in or under contract. However, either party first says neither party shall assign whole part of contract or whatever benefit or interest in or under contract. However, either party may assign whole or any part of contract with prior agreement of other party at sole discretion of such other party. Says that may as security in favor of a bank or financial institution assign parties right to any monies due or to become due under contract without price agreement of other party. So it says, let me repeat, may as security in favor of a bank or financial institution assign parties right to whatever money is due or to become due under contract without prior agreement of other party. Now it says care and supply of documents. Care and supply of documents. Care and supply of documents. Each of contractor's documents shall be in custody and care of contractor. Each of contractor's documents shall be in custody and care of contractor unless and until submitted to employer. Each of contractor's documents shall be in custody and care of contractor unless and until submitted to employer. Contractor shall supply to employer one paper original, one electronic copy in form specified in employer's requirements, or if not stated, a form acceptable to employer and additional paper copies as stated in contract data of each of contractor's documents. So, contractor documents copy must be with custody of contractor. Each of contractor's documents shall be in custody and care of contractor unless and until submitted to engineer. Contractor shall supply to employer one paper original, one electronic copy in form as specified in employer's requirements, or if not stated, a form acceptable to employer, and additional paper copies as stated in contract data of each of contractor's documents. Contractor shall keep all times on site copy of what? Number one, contract. Contractor must be on site. Records under contracts records and contemporary records. Publications named in employer's requirement, contractor's document, variations, notices, and other communications given under contract. Employer's personnel shall have right of access to all these documents during all normal working hours or as otherwise agreed with contractor. If a party becomes increasingly careless. Now we say employer's personnel shall have right of access to all these documents during all normal working hours or as otherwise agreed with contractor. If party becomes aware of error or defect, if party, both parties or either party aware of an error of distilled water, now if a party becomes aware of error or defect, whether of a technical nature or otherwise, in a document which was prepared by or on behalf of a contractor for use in execution of works, party shall promptly give a notice. The question is, when I say, if error or defect is noted by other party in whatever document, contractor prepared by contractor for use in execution of works, party shall promptly give a notice of such error or defect to other party. Contractor shall then promptly rectify error or defect at contractor's risk and cost. Means you have to inform other parties that this is error or defect. How can it be taken care of? That's point here. And then use of employers, use of contract documents. Employers' use of contract document is certainly completely different. As between parties, contractor shall retain copyright and other intellectual property rights in contractor's document and other design documents made by or on behalf of contractors. Now say contract shall retain copyright and other intellectual property rights in contractor's documents and other design documents made by on behalf of contractor. Contractor shall be deemed by signing contract agreement to give to employer a non-terminable, transferable and non-exclusive royalty-free license to keep, use and communicate contractors' documents and such other design documents, including making and using modifications of them. This license shall document. Then you go to, apply throughout actual or intended operational life. License shall apply. This license which is assumed or given by contractor, this shall apply throughout actual or intended operational life, whichever is longer of relevant parts of works. It says this license shall apply throughout actual or intended operational life of relevant part of works. Entitled person in proper possession of relevant part of work to copy, use and communicate contractor's documents. Entitled and person in proper position of relevant part of relevant part of works to copy, use and communicate contractors' documents and such other design documents for purposes of completing, operating, maintaining, altering, adjusting, repairing and demolishing works. So see again, it entitled person on proper position of relevant parts of works to copy, relevant parts of work to copy, use and communicate contractors' documents and such other design documents for purposes of completing, operating, maintaining, altering, adjusting, repairing and demolishing works. In case of contractors' documents and such other design documents which are in form of electronic or digital files, computer programs and other software permit their use on any computer on site and or at locations of employer and employer's representative and or at other places as envisaged by contract. And in event of termination of contract, under termination for contractor's default, entitle employer to copy, use and communicate contractor's document and other design documents made by or for contractor. termination of termination for employer's convenience, termination by a contractor, or subclause optional termination, entitle employer to copy, use, and communicate contractor's documents for which contractor has received payment for purpose of completing works and or arranging for whatever other entities to do so. Contractor documents and other design documents made by on behalf of contractor shall not without contractor's prior consent be used, copied or communicated to third party by or on behalf of employer for purposes other than those permitted under this clause. Contractor's use of employer's documents. Contractor's use of employer's document. As between two parties, employer shall retain copyright and other intellectual property rights in employer's requirements and other documents made by or on behalf of employer. Contractor may at contractor's cost copy, use and communicate these documents for purposes of contract. These documents in whole or in part shall not without employer's prior consent be copied, used or communicated to a third party by contractor except as necessary for purpose of contract. Confidentiality, yes, even there on confidentiality, yes, it's very important to have to come to fact, It's very important part, confidentiality. I talked at length yesterday, means it's not simply this article I'm talking of, but confidentiality in itself is very, very vast term, very vast term, very, very vast term in a way that what is confidentiality? First, you have to understand what's confidential. It's just something which I do not want to tell other, right? Something I want to keep secret. That's my part. Means my work cannot be known to others. And if I want to tell them, I have to consider that. If somebody requests me to, help them through Sky Media, I'm saying confidentiality. If I want to keep something confidential, no one can stop me from that. If I want to say no, it's not confidential, it's for public, then nobody can stop me from that as well. But if I may, So it says that confidentiality is very important factor. It's very important point in contracts. No one has to breach this confidentiality if it is. If it's not confidential, no problem. So we have to mind this point seriously. And that's what it says. Contract shall disclose all such confidential. Contractor shall disclose all such confidential and other information as employer may reasonably require in order to verify contractor's compliance with contract. Contractor shall treat all documents forming contract as confidential except to extent necessary to carry out contractor's obligations under contract. So it says contractor shall treat all documents forming contract confidential except to one extent necessary to carry out contractor's obligations under contract. Contractor shall not publish. Contract shall not publish. Permit to be published. Permit to be published or disclose any particulars of contract. Or I can say without employer's prior consent. I can say permit to be published or disclose any particulars of contract in any trade or technical paper or elsewhere. Okay. Now, employer and employer's personnel shall treat all information provided by contractor and marked confidential as confidential. Employer and employer's personnel shall not disclose or permit to be disclosed any such information to third parties, except as may be necessary when exercising employer's rights under termination for contractor's default. A party's obligation of confidentiality under this subclause shall not apply where information was already in that party's possession without an obligation of confidentiality before receipt from other party becomes generally available to public through no breach of these conditions. Is lawfully obtained by party from a third party which uh, 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 then we can say becomes generally available to public through no breach of these conditions or is lawfully obtained by party from a third party which is not bound by any obligation of confidentiality, and that is what it is. Then we can say compliance with laws. Compliance with laws is also very important, very important, very, dynamic. We have to understand this point. Then we move further on this. Give me a few minutes. I'll be back. I'm a little late today, so I don't know why I got up late actually. I got up past 3. I got up a little late, 1 hour late, 1.5 hours late actually. So it's my fault today. Even though no problem, we'll manage. So let's move further on this, and we see contractor and employer shall in performing contract comply with all applicable laws unless otherwise stated. Employer's requirements compliance with laws. Contractor and employer shall in performing contract have applicable laws unless otherwise stated. Employer's requirements. Employer shall have obtained or shall obtain planning, zoning or building permit or similar permits, permissions, licenses and or approvals for permanent works and whatever other permits, permissions, licenses and or approvals described in employer's requirements as having been or being obtained by employer. Employer shall indemnify and hold contractor harmless against and from consequences of whatever delay or failure to do so, unless failure is caused by contractor's failure to comply with subparagraph below. What's that? C. Now we'll see that. Now it says subparagraph, let us say C below first. Within time stated in employer's requirements, contractor shall provide such assistance and all documentation as described in employer's requirements or otherwise reasonably required by employer, so as to allow employer to obtain whatever permit, permission, license or approval under subparagraph A above. And B paragraph is contractor shall give all notices, pay all taxes, duties and fees and obtain all other permits, permissions, license and approvals as required by laws in relation to execution of works. Contractor shall indemnify and hold employer harmless against and from consequences of whatever failure to do so unless failure is caused by employer's failure to comply with. Contractor shall comply with all permits. Contractor shall comply with all permits, permissions, licenses and or approvals obtained by employer under subparagraph A above. Now, if having complied with subparagraph C above, contractor suffers delay and or incurs costs as a result of employer's delay or failure to obtain any permit, permission, license or approval under subparagraph above A above, contractor shall be entitled subject to claims for payment and or EOT and or payment of such costs plus profits. If employer incurs additional cost as a result of contractor's failure to comply with subparagraph above or subparagraph above, provided that employer shall have complied with, employer shall be entitled subject to subclause claims for payment and or extension of time to payment of this cost by contractor. Then we go to joint and several liability, which is also a very common one. We explained before, but we refresh it. If contractor is a joint venture, members of joint venture shall be jointly and severally liable to employer for performance of contractor's obligations under contract. Joint venture leader shall have authority to bind contractor and each member of joint venture, neither members nor, if known, scope and parts of works to be carried out by each member, nor legal status of joint venture shall be altered without prior consent of employer, but such consent shall not relieve altered shavy from any liability under subparagraph above. The limitation of liability, neither party shall be liable to other party for loss of use of works, loss of profit, loss of contract, or for whatever indirect or consequential loss or damage which may be suffered by other party in connection with contract other than under. Delay damages, variation by instruction per payment after termination of employer's convenience, payment after termination by contractor. And intellectual and industrial property rights, indemnities by contractor, indemnities by employer, total liability of contractor to employer under in connection with contract other than employer supplied materials, employer's equipment, temporary utilities, intellectual and industrial property rights, and indemnities by contractor. Shall not exceed sum stated in contract data, or if sum is not so stated in contract price stated in contract agreement. This subclause shall not limit liability in whatever case of fraud, gross in negligence, deliberate default, or reckless misconduct by defaulting party. Now, contract termination. Subject to whatever mandatory requirements under governing law of contract, termination of contract under applicable subclause of these conditions shall require no action of whatsoever kind by either party other than as stated in subclause. Now we come to employer right of access to site, which is very common, and there's nothing very specific in this. If you just I read it for refreshing, no need of any additional explanation. Employer shall give contractor right of access to and possession of all parts of site within time stated in contract data. Right and possession may not be exclusive to contractor. If under contract, employer is required to give to contractor possession of any foundation structure, plant, or means of access, employer shall do so in time and manner stated in employer's requirements. However, employers may withhold all such right or possession until performance security has been received. If no such time is stated in contract data, employer shall give contractor right of access to and possession of site with effect from commencement date. If contractor suffers delay and incurs costs as a result of failure by employer to give any or all such rights of possession within such time, contract shall be entitled subject to subclause claims for payment of EOT and of payment of such costs plus profits. However, if and extend that employer's failure was caused by whatever error or delay by contractor, including whatever error in or delay in submission of any of applicable contractor's documents, contractor shall not be entitled to such EOT or cost plus profit. If under contract, employer is required to give to contractor possession of whatever foundation, structure, plant, or means of access in accordance with contractor's documents, the contractor shall submit such contract's document to employer in time and manner stated in employer's requirements. Now, assistance is also very common, so I just read. If requested by contractor, employer shall promptly provide reasonable assistance to contractor so as to follow contractor to obtain copies of laws of country which are relevant to contract but are not readily available, and permissions, licenses, or approvals required by laws of country, including information required to be submitted by contractor in order to obtain such permissions, licenses, or approvals which in contract is required to obtain under compliance with laws for delivery of goods, including clearance through customs and for exports of contractor's equipment when it's removed from site. Employer shall be responsible for ensuring that employer's personal clause is employer's personal and other contractors. Employer shall be responsible for ensuring that employer's personal and employer's other contractors on or near site cooperate with contractors' efforts under cooperation, comply with same obligations which contractors are required to comply with under paragraphs A to E of subclass 4.8 health and safety obligations, and under subclass protection of environment. So health, safety, and environmental protection are very much included herein in this class. So we have to see that all cooperation must be done by other contractors, and it's employer that to make sure that other contractors working in that area cooperate with each other as far as health, security, and health, safety, and environment and are concerned. And of course, if some ergonomics works, and the contract may require employer to remove or cost to be removed, whatever person or whosoever person of employer's personal of employers, other contractors who is found based on reasonable evidence they are engaged in corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, or coercive practice. Employers' financial arrangements is very important one. It's right of contractors, very very important one. Employers' arrangements for financing employers' obligations under contract shall be detailed in contract data. If employer intends to make a material change, affecting employer's ability to pay part of contract price remaining to be paid at that time as estimated by employer to these financial arrangements or has to do so because of changes in employer's financial situation, employer shall immediately give a notice to contractor with detailed supporting particulars. Means here right of contractor is very important because contractor is working for employer, works for employer with a confirmed assurance that it shall be paid, and therefore if employer financial standing is broken, how shall that contractor know it? So it is right of contractor to be made sure that employer has a capacity to pay, full capacity to pay for works that contractor performs under contract, for which employer has to make clear understanding. And for that, if contractor receives an instruction to execute a variation with a price greater than 10% of contract price stated in contract agreement, or accumulated total of variations exceeds 30% of contract price stated in contract agreement, doesn't receive payment in accordance with payment, or becomes aware of a material change in employer's financial arrangements of which contractor has not received a notice under this subclause, contractor may request an employer shall within 28 days after receiving this request provide reasonable evidence that financial arrangements have been made and are being maintained that will enable employer to pay part of contract price remaining to be paid at time estimated by employer, and then site data and items of reference which are very much technical. Employer shall have made available to contractor for information before base date all relevant data in employer's position on topography of site and on surface, hydrological, climatic and environmental conditions at that site. Employer shall promptly make available to contractors all such data which comes into employer's position after base date. Original survey control points, lines and levels of reference, items of reference in these conditions shall be specified in employer's requirements. Employers shall have no responsibility for accuracy, sufficiency or completeness of such data and or items of reference except as stated in general design obligations. Employer supplied material and employer's equipment. I just moving fast on this because it's very ordinary clause. If employer supplied materials and employer's equipment are listed in employer's requirements for contractor's use in execution of works, employer shall make such materials and or equipment available to contractor in accordance with these details, times, arrangements, rates and prices stated in employer's requirements. Contractor shall be responsible for each item of employer's equipment. Contractor shall be responsible for each item of employer's equipment whilst any of contractor's personnel is operating it, driving it, directing it, using it or in control of it. Now, employer's administration, employer's representative administration. Now this is a very important part, and that is employer's administration. What does it mean? That point now I think is very important because here it is EPC, which is much more powerful, much more responsible if you compare with red book contract or construction contract. which is this one, that is red book. And this is, we can say, silver book, which says employer shall appoint employer's representative, whereas herein it is different, and it is, you can say, it is altogether different in this case, very much different, where you can say, I'm just going to find that chapter. No, it's a very, very different responsibility, though principally it is same, but it is very, very different in terms of, you can say here, and this is engineer. It is engineer, and we may say go to page 16. Let us go move further and let us see how it works. It is I think by language. It is somewhere here, interpolation. Yeah, it's there, engineer. You see this here? So I'm now representing here, employer shall appoint, it is an EPC, employer shall appoint employer's representative who, except as otherwise stated in these conditions, shall be deemed to act on employer's behalf under contract. Employer's representative shall be vested with, and unless and until employer notifies contractor otherwise, shall be deemed to have full authority of employer under contract except in respect of cross termination by employer. Employer's representative, or if a legal entity, natural person appointed to act on behalf, carry out duties assigned to him under an exercise authority, delegate to him whatever it is, and competent to carry out these duties and exercise, and fluent in business. So this is employer's representative, legal entity here. But in that case, if you say engineering person named in contract data appointed by employer to act as engineer for purposes of contract or any replacement appointed under subclause, replacement of engineer. This is what is major difference, and we have to concentrate on that. So we had talked of this yesterday. So other employers' personnel, we had talked of this, and here it's a delegated persons. Yes, that's an important point. All persons, including employer's representative and assistants to whom duties have been assigned or authority has been delegated by a notice of delegation, shall only be authorized to issue instructions and communications and or to give notices to contractor to extent defined by notice of delegation. Whatever acceptance, agreement, approval, check, certificate, comment, consent, disapproval, examination, inspection, instruction, notice, no objection, records of meeting, permission, proposal, record, reply, report, requests, review, test, valuation or similar act, including absence of such act, by a delegated person in accordance with notice of delegation shall have same effect as though act had been an act of employer. This is very precise one, very explained one, which includes many responsibilities. Again, I repeat, only be authorized to issue instructions and communications and obligor to give notices to contractor to extent defined by notice of delegation, whatever acceptance, agreement, approval, check, certificate, comment, consequence, consent, disapproval, examination, inspection, instruction, notice, no objection, records of meeting, permission, proposal, record, reply, report, request, review, test, validation, or some similar act, including absence of whatever such act by a delegated person in accordance with notice of delegation shall have same effect as that though the act has been act of employer. However, unless otherwise stated in delegated person's communication relating to such act, it shall not relieve contractor from whatever duty, obligation, or responsibility of contractor has under in connection with contract. If contractor questions instruction, if contractor questions whatever instruction, communication, or notice even by delegated person, contractor may, by giving notice, refer matter to employer. Employer shall be deemed to have confirmed such instruction, communication, or notice. If employer does not respond within 7 days after receiving contractor's notice, reversing or varying delegated person's instruction, communication, or notice. Now, instructions. Now, employer may, through employer's representative or an assistant, as stated below, issue to contractor whatever time instructions which may be necessary for execution of works, all in accordance with contract. Each instruction shall state obligations to which it relates and subclause or other terms of contract in which obligations are specified. Contractor shall only take instructions from employer's representative or an assistant to whom appropriate authority to give instruction has been delegated by notice given under subclause other employer's personnel. Subject to following provisions of this subclause, the contractor shall comply with instructions given by employer's representative or delegated assistant on whatever matter related to contract. If an instruction states that it constitutes a variation by instruction shall apply. If not stated, and contractor considers that instruction constitutes a variation or involves work that is already part of an existing variation, does not comply with applicable laws or shall reduce safety of works or is technically impossible, contractor shall immediately and before commencing whatever work related to that instruction give a notice to employer with reasons. If employer does not respond within 7 days or such other time as may be agreed between parties after receiving this notice by giving a notice confirming, reversing, or varying instruction, employer shall be deemed to have revoked instruction. Otherwise, contractor shall comply with and be bound by terms of employer's response. When carrying out its duties, this is agreement or determination. Agreement or determination, very important clause, which affects in totality something, and that is, we can say, when carrying out duties under this subclause, employer's representative shall not be deemed to act for employer. It is about, determination. It's about determination, or you can say agreement. When carrying out when carrying out duties under this subclause, this is employer representative shall not be deemed to act for employer. Very important point. For this determination or agreement. Whenever these conditions provide that employer representative shall proceed under this clause to agree or determine whatever matter or claim, following procedure shall apply. What is that procedure? Consultation to reach agreement. Employer's representative shall consult with both parties. Employer's representative has to consult with both parties jointly and or separately and encourage discussion between parties in an endeavor to reach agreement. It's kind of conciliatory measure, that this employer representative actually, who is an engineer, to be very frank, in capacity as engineer, he is works now. Employer's representative who turns to a arbitration engineer, you can say, not actually as engineer, independent engineer, consult with both parties jointly and separately as well, and shall encourage them in an endeavor to reach agreement. Employer's representative or engineer shall commence such. I'm using word engineer because it's easy to understand. Employer's representative or engineer shall commence such consultation promptly to allow adequate time to comply with time limit for agreement under time limits clause, unless otherwise proposed by employer's representative and agreed by parties. Employer's representative shall provide both parties with a record of consultation. Means he will act as consultant for them. If agreement is achieved within time limit for agreement under the time limits clause, employer representative shall give a notice to both parties of agreement, which agreement shall be signed by both parties. This notice shall state that it is notice of parties agreement and shall include a copy of agreement. Now, if no agreement is issued, condition number 1, if no agreement is achieved within time limit for agreement, no agreement is achieved within time limit for agreement under time limits, or both parties advise employer's representative that no agreement can be achieved within this time limit, whichever is earlier, employer's representative shall give a notice to parties accordingly and shall immediately proceed under employer's representative determination. Employer's representative determination. It's very powerful here, that employer representative shall make a fair determination of matter. Employer's representative shall make a fair determination of matter or in accordance with contract, taking due regard to all relevant circumstances within time limit for determination. Under time limits, employer's representative shall give a notice to both parties of its determination. This notice shall state that it's a notice of employer's representative's determination and shall describe determination in detail with reasons and detailed supporting particulars. Time limits. Employer's representative shall give notice of agreement if agreement is achieved within 42 days or within such other time limit as may be proposed by employer's representative and agreed by both parties. Time limit for agreement in these conditions after. In case of matter to be agreed or determined, not a claim. In case of matter to be agreed or determined, not a claim, date of commencement of time limit for agreement as stated in applicable subclause of these conditions. In case of claim, under paragraph subclause claims, date employer's representative receives a notice under this clause from claiming party. In case of claim, under subclause claims, date of employer's representative receives a fully detailed claim under fully detailed claim, or in case of claim under claims of continuing effect, an interim or final fully detailed claim as case may be. Employer's representative shall give notice of its determination within 42 days or within such other time limit as may be proposed by employer's representative and agreed by both parties. Time limit for determination in these conditions after date corresponding to its obligation to proceed under last paragraph of subclause. Consultation to each agreement. Consultation to each agreement. This is part of same, it's not new. If employer representative does not give notice of agreement or determination within relevant time limit, in case of claim, employer's representative shall be deemed to have given a determination rejecting claim. Or in case of matter to be agreed or determined, matter shall be deemed to be a dispute which may be referred by either party to DAAB for its decision. Under obtaining DAAB's decision without need for NOD, and subclause dissatisfaction with employer's representative's determination, and subparagraph reference of a dispute to DAB shall not apply. Effect of agreement or determination. Effect of agreement or determination. Each agreement or determination shall be binding on both parties unless and until corrected under this subclause, or in case of determination it is revised under disputes and arbitration. If an agreement or determination concerns payment of an amount from one party to other party, contractor shall include such an amount in next statement, and employer shall include such amount in next payment under interim payment or final payment, as case may be, that follows that statement. If within 14 days after giving or receiving employer's representatives notice of agreement or determination, whatever error of a typographical or clerical or arithmetical nature is found by employer's representative, then it shall immediately advise parties accordingly, or by a party, then that party shall give a notice to other employer's representative stating that it is given under, and clearly identifying error. If employer's representative does not agree there was an error, it shall immediately advise parties accordingly. Employer's representative shall, within 7 days after finding error or after receiving a notice under This subparagraph, as case may be, give a notice to both parties of corrected agreement or determination. Thereafter, corrected agreement or determination shall be treated as agreement or determination for purpose of these conditions. Dissatisfaction with employer's representative determination. Dissatisfaction with employer's representative determination. If either party is dissatisfied with determination of employer's representative, dissatisfied party may give a notice of that NOD to other party, notice of dissatisfaction. Dissatisfied party may give a notice of dissatisfaction to other party with a copy to employer's representative. This NOD or notice of dissatisfaction shall state that it is a notice of dissatisfaction with employer's representative's determination and shall set out reasons for dissatisfaction. This notice of dissatisfaction shall be given within 28 days after receiving employer's representative's notice of determination under employer's representative's determination, or if applicable it has its notice to of correct determination under effect of agreement or determination, or in case of a deemed determination rejecting claim within 28 days after time limit for determination. Under time limits, thereafter either party may proceed under subclause obtaining DAP's decision. If no NOD is given, if no notice of dissatisfaction is given by either party within period of 28 days stated in subparagraph above, determination of employer's representative shall be deemed to have been accepted by both parties and be final and binding on them. If dissatisfied party is dissatisfied with only parts of employer's representative's determination, this part shall be clearly identified on notice of dissatisfaction. These parts and other parts of determination that are affected by such parts are in this part and other parts of determination that are affected by such parts or rely on such parts for completeness shall be deemed to be severable from remainder of determination. And the remainder of determination shall become final and binding on both parties as if a notice of dissatisfaction had not been given. In event that a party fails to comply with an agreement, in case that a party fails to comply with an agreement of parties under a final and binding determination of employer's representative, other party may, without prejudice to whatever other rights it may have, referred failure itself directly to arbitration under subclause 21.6.7 failure. So, I'll say, in the event that a party fails to comply with the agreement of parties under this subclause, final and binding determination of employer's representative, other party may, without prejudice to whatever other rights it may have, refer failure itself directly to arbitration under under arbitration, in which case first and third paragraph of subclause failure to comply with DF's decision shall apply to such preference in same manner as these paragraphs apply to final and binding decisions of dam. Meetings. Meetings. Either party may require other party to attend a management meeting. Either party may require other party to attend a management meeting to discuss arrangements for future work and or other matters in connection with execution of works. Either party may require other party to attend a management meeting to discuss arrangements for further future work and or other matters in connection with execution of works. Employers, other contractors, personnel of legally constituted public. Employers, other contractors, personnel of legally constituted public authorities and of private utility companies and or subcontractors may attend whatever such meeting if requested by either party. Employer shall keep record of each management meeting and supply copies of records to these attending at whatever such meeting, and in record responsibilities for whatever actions to be taken shall be in accordance with contract. Clauses. General obligations. General obligations. Contractor shall execute works in accordance with contract when completed. Works or sections or major items of plants, if any, or whatever, shall be fit for purposes for which they are intended as defined and described in employer's requirements, or where no purpose are so defined and described fit for their ordinary purpose. Contractors shall provide plant, spare parts if required, and contractors' documents specified in employer's requirements, and all contractors' personnel, goods, consumables, and other things and services, other items and services, we can say, whether of a temporary or permanent nature, required to fulfill contractor's obligations under contract. Works shall include whatever work which is necessary to satisfy employer's requirements and schedules, or is implied by contract, and all works which, although not mentioned in contract, are necessary for stability or for completion or safe and proper operation of works. Contractor shall be responsible for adequacy, stability, and safety of all contractors' operations and activities, of all methods of construction and of all works. Contractor shall be responsible for adequacy, stability, and safety of all contractors' operations and activities of all methods of construction. Now, contract shall be responsible for adequacy, stability, and safety of all contractors' operations and and activities of all methods of construction and of all works. Contractor shall, whenever required by employer, submit details of arrangements and methods which contractor proposes to adopt. Contractor shall, whenever required by employer, submit details of arrangements and methods which contractor proposes to adopt for execution of works. No significant alteration to these arrangements and methods shall be made without this alteration having been submitted to employer. It's a very important clause. Contractor shall, whenever required by employer, submit details of arrangements and methods which contractor proposes to adopt for execution of works. No significant alteration to these arrangements and methods shall be made without this alteration having been submitted to employer. Performance security, very important point again, this performance security. साले फालतू के फोन करते थे पूछने के चूतिया लोग क्या पर्सन की बात कर रही है क्या बात कर रहे थे. So it is wrong. Contractor shall obtain at contractor's cost. Okay, contractor shall obtain at its cost a performance security to secure contractor's proper performance. Secure contractor's proper performance of contract in amount and currencies stated in contract. That contractor shall obtain a performance security to secure contractor's proper performance of contract in amount and currencies stated in contract data. If no amount is stated in contract data, subclause shall not apply. Okay. So contractor's obligations. Contractor shall deliver performance security to employer within 28 days after both parties have signed contract. Agreement, performance security. Okay. Agreement for performance security. Contractor shall deliver performance security to employer in 28 days after both parties have signed contract agreement. Performance security shall be issued by an entity and from within a country or other jurisdiction to which employer gives consent and shall be in form annexed to particular conditions or in another form agreed by employer. But such consent or agreement shall not relieve contractor from whatever obligation under this subclause. Contractor shall ensure that performance security remains valid and enforceable until issue of performance certificate and contractor has complied with clearance of site if terms of performance security specified an expiry date and contractor has not become entitled to receive performance certificate by date 28 days before expiry date. Contractor shall extend validity of performance security until issue of performance certificate and contractor has complied with clearance of site. Whenever variations or adjustments under clause 13 variations and adjustments result in an accumulative increase or decrease of contract price by more than 20% of contract price stated in contract agreement. In case of such increase at employer's request, contract shall promptly increase amount of performance security in that currency by a percentage equal to accumulative increase. If contractor incurs cost as a result of his employer's request, variation by instruction shall apply as if increase had been instructed by employer. In case of such a decrease, subject to employer's prior consent, if contractor may decrease amount of performance security in that currency by a percentage equal to accumulative decrease, claims under performance security. Claims under performance security. Employer shall not make a claim under performance security except for amounts to which employer is entitled under contract in event of failure by contractor to extend validity of performance security as described in subclause. In each event, employer may claim full amount or in case of previous reductions, full remaining amount of performance security. Failure by contractor to extend validity of performance security as described in subclause. In each event, an employer may claim full amount of case of previous reductions, full remaining amount of performance security. Failure by contractor to pay employer an amount due as agreed or determined under subclause. Agreement or determination or agreed or decided under clause when disputes are arbitration within 42 days after date of agreement or determination or decision or arbitral award. Let's see how to move it further. Today we had discussions about EPC clauses, and I think it's about I think it is which one. Let's see, it is clause number we have reached here. This is page 43 of 2003. So we'll see next time that we manage and move on this, because it's not alone. We have to move with construction as well as we have to move with construction as well as we have to move with construction, we have to move silver, EPC, and we have to move all this, which are very important points that we have to see. We have to see important points as, and we can see that in this case and it's time now to take leave of today. It's already 3 hours gone. I was late today, no problem. We'll see what to do, how to do. We'll take up. I think it gives some idea to everybody about contract. Everybody who is distant from contract issues, some idea is given, entertained, and it's not futile talk. It's very constructive talk on updated information on contracts at international level. It's very important point we have to get into. Simply keeping absent, keeping disconnected with such information does not help. It doesn't mean anything. So we have to be very clear about this. With this, I'm taking your leave. Thank you very much.